Good morning. Live. Wasn't live last week. I was in a little country town. Before I say that, let's go through the normal intro stuff. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in and watching now or later. If you're going to, I don't think there's anything today that will offend you. But if you feel like you're going to be offended by anything stupid, then just move on. Go somewhere else. Like and subscribe. That'll be really nice too. Share it if you feel the need. Anyway, last week we went to a little country town in Queensland, just west. The town is called Maryborough, and where we stayed was in a little estate, I guess a 5-acre lot estate, just west of that. Fantastic. What a beautiful little country town that is. And those of you in Queensland, I think, go up there and spend some time in Maryborough, have a look around at all the places there. It's pretty close to Hervey Bay, just a little bit north of the Sunshine Coast, just a really beautiful place. Dry this time of year, been another couple of weeks where I have some rain. I just turned beautiful, lush and green. It was absolutely fantastic. So I couldn't do a live last week because minimal to no internet. You have to run through a satellite process, and that was not really good. So we're going to look at some options if we go there again for a satellite internet that'll give us a reasonable speed, so I can run through this again. All right, so before I move on, I just want to say a few little things about a good friend of mine, Gerald. He has a friend who this week passed away from cancer, and where cancer is a tragedy, I think, and tragedy is a big word, hey. Some things are tragic and some things are just, not very nice. And I think cancer is one of those not very nice things. But he passed away through choice. I think he only had a short time to go. He was in huge discomfort, and his name was Chris Burton. And I'm going to put some links in the description below to Gerald's De-Escalation Coach YouTube channel, where there's 3 videos of Chris talking to Gerald. And I really highly recommend you click on those and have a look. And if you are interested in those sorts of things, then like and subscribe to Gerald's channel. It's De-Escalation Coach on YouTube, and I believe he's on Rumble as well. But Chris, I think it was Tuesday night, decided that he'd had enough, and he had lost the battle. It was just a matter of time, and he chose to go through a newly passed law in Australia, which is the Voluntary Assisted Dying Law, the VAD, they call it, which sounds a lot better than assisted suicide. And he chose to do that so it was on Wednesday evening. He had his family around him, and he slipped into a morphine state, I guess, and then passed away. And where it's tragedy. Oh, it's not tragedy again, it's the wrong word. It's really deeply sad for his family that had happened. But he'd made the decision that he didn't want to live his life as a strong man that he was. He didn't want to live it in a depleted state, and that's what cancer does. So all respect to Chris and the decision he made, and great honour and respect to his wife and his 2 children, who now don't have a father and a husband, but he passed given his desire in a controlled manner, which I think is really cool. For me, I'll tell you a little story about which is why I'm in conflict over the decision, and why VAD, the voluntary assisted dying law, is I don't know. I guess it can probably be used and turned to so many different things. I heard a story in Canada where a person who had depression and was clinically diagnosed as with depression or whatever it was something like depression, and the state allowed him to terminate his life. And I don't know if that's true. I was going to do some research on it, but I do remember it. So go out and have a look if it's true or not. But where does the line draw on assisting yourself to die? Like, I get cancer. I get it's a horrible thing. At what point, though, do you go, okay, now's the time that you do it? So I'm not sure about Chris's timeline. I think maybe 2 weeks. I think he had left maximum. And that decision was like, okay, so 2 weeks is a good timeline. They can estimate that you can pass in 2 weeks. I have an experience of a friend who was given 2 years to live. 5 years later, she's still going. And you go, well, what's the deal with that? Like, is 2 weeks really 2 weeks, or is 2 weeks maybe a month or 2 months? And if you think I've only got 2 weeks, I might as well do it now. It can go on and on. And is it just cancer, or is it another terminal? If I've got a brain tumor, like I've got a friend who's got a brain tumor and bad knees and hips and back and shoulders. And does he go, well, I'm not really comfortable anymore. I'm in a lot of pain. The pain will never go away. Well, I'll just VAD. I'll just go to the doctor and say, well, just VAD me, So I don't know the rules and the lines of where that is going to go. So I guess for me, all right, I'm not 100% with it. I've got conflicting issues with it. And I'll explain my story, and why I have conflicting issues with it may come out in that story. So we'll go back to the early 90s. I had a friend, his name was Andy. He was a corporal in the army. I worked with him in a Swan barracks in Perth. And he had leukemia. And when he was diagnosed with leukemia, he was with his girlfriend, fiance, I should say, and he went by himself to the doctor because she didn't want to go because it was going to hurt her heart to find out whether he had leukemia or not and what was going on. And he went and came back and said, yep, dear, I've got leukemia, and I've got to start going through all these treatments and things like that. He went to work one day and came back. Well, actually went away for about 2 or 3 days to a military, I'd say camp, but it was a training session. And when he came back, she'd cleaned the house, emptied the accounts, and left him. And that was just absolutely tragic. But someone who could do that and use the excuses of, I don't think I could cope with you passing, so I'm leaving and taking everything. Like, I mean everything. And that was just really, really unbelievable. It shattered him. But in the time that I knew him, he was probably the kindest, most compassionate, decent human being that I had ever met in my 30 years on the planet. And he was suffering, and he was going through a whole deep loss and grieving. Now, he knew his time was coming up, and this is where it's starting to come into my conflict with VAD. The day he passed, it was a Saturday morning. I was in a town called Geraldton, which is north of Perth, and with my girlfriend at the time. And in the morning, he was talking to the cancer kids, and he was motivating them and saying, keep going, it's all great. You just fight this and keep going and be strong, and all the beautiful things that he was doing. And this came from his mother, and she told me. And then I'll give a time, I don't know the exact time, let's say 11 o'clock on the Saturday morning, and it was late in the morning, he passed. He said to his mum, who was sitting beside him, and he was starting to get thin and worn out because that's what leukemia and cancer does. He said to his mum, hey, Mum, can you go out at the reception waiting room, not the first one, but the one a little bit further up. There's a magazine there I want to have a read. It's got a picture of a motor car on it, like a yellow Model T hot rod. Can you bring that back? She said, yeah, sure. So, and he said, grab a cup of coffee while you're out there. So she went away, grabbed a cup of coffee, grabbed the magazine, came back, and he died. And he'd written, he didn't want his mother to witness him passing because he thought it was going to destroy her. And he was happy, he was great. He, said he loved his mum before she left to get the magazine, and then he passed. So in all of the time before that, I believe if he had known that he only had a week left, he might have chosen VAD, right? He might have chosen that. Now, let me go to the next story. Shortly after that, maybe 2 years later, my mum had dealing with bowel cancer for a long time, and I was with her in palliative care ward in South Australia, and I was in sleeping there in a pull-out chair bed, and with her during the day and sleeping in this pull-out bed beside her at night. And she was, those of you who've witnessed someone close to you dying of cancer, it's a tragic thing. It's again that word. It's actually really, really horrible. You see them as beautiful and strong and upright and proud people, and all of a sudden they start to crawl in and become skeletal and go into a ball, and everything starts to, and their skin becomes transparent and their eyes glaze over. And I know that's the morphine to stop the pain, but Mum was like that. And for like 5 days beforehand, when I was there with her, she was just obviously getting worse and worse and worse. And when there was a nurse with her, and she was an old Dutch lady who was like a matron. She'd done this palliative care for like 25 years, and she was washing Mum, and I was not in the room, of course, because she was washing Mum in all the places where you get washed. And she came out of the room in tears, and I said, "Look, what's wrong?" And she said, "Oh, sorry." Even after 30 years, it's like it's pretty raw still. She was in tears, and she came out and she said, I don't believe your mum. I've done this for 25 years and no one has made me cry." We were rolling her over to wash her, and her face was grimacing, and she said, "Jill, are you in pain?" And she goes, "Yes, dear, only a little bit when you move me." And the nurse said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And this matron said, "Well, you're doing such a wonderful job, and I didn't want to stop you doing it." And she just walked out, And the other nurse gave her a little bit more morphine and finished the wash and came back, and that was my mum, and that was her nature, and she's the strength and the courage she displayed was just absolutely phenomenal. And then not many more days later, I was asleep, 2 o'clock in the morning. I wake up and I look up at Mum. She was just up here, and she didn't appear to me to be that transparent, skeletal, skinned woman who was dying of cancer. Her eyes were alive and they were vibrant. I was looking at this face, and she looked down at me and she said, "Darling," she said, I just want to tell you why I know why I'm dying of bowel cancer." And I was just like, I woke up more awake at that moment. I looked at her and I said, "Mum, why? Why?" She said, "I wouldn't let go. I wouldn't let go of my judgment. I wouldn't let go of all the things in my life that I shouldn't have held on to. I wouldn't let go of the shit." And she said it manifested in that part of my body that lets go of the shit, and why I got bowel cancer, because that's what the bowel lets go of the shit. And I just turned away from her and went, "Wow, that was fantastic." And then I looked back at her like in seconds, and she was glazed over again. Her eyes were glazed over. She was hunched back down again. It just absolutely blew me away. A message given to me at that point from a woman who was days away from dying, that if it was available to her that VAD, I never would have got that. She would have chosen VAD over that experience. Now, it may sound selfish, but let me go to the last story, is my father passing. My father was an atheist, absolutely through and through, argued with Mum over her philosophies and beliefs and her Indian religions and all the stuff, poo-hooed her left and right, and my brother, who was going down that same path. Anyway, he didn't die of cancer. He died of old age, like he's just failing. He went into a coma 9 days before he passed, and he was in a vet hospital in Brisbane. And my brother and I flew over to be with him in his time of passing. And he was the same. He started off laying in his bed, fully extended arms, and then as the 9 days came in, the blood from the organs, I believe, and I'm not a doctor, stopped going to his legs, and they all started to shrink and shrivel, and he all curled up into he pretty much in the end was constantly in a fetal position. And it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and my brother couldn't take it anymore. He was like, Dave was so close, you take a breath and you let it out, and you wonder, is that it? And then you do it again. Same as what Mum did, like in those times, it's like, is it now? Is it now? Now? And Adrian couldn't do it anymore, so he left. And I was holding Dad's hand, and I was looking at his eyes. He had a thing called macular degeneration, and if you know what macular degeneration is, it's like a black spot right in the middle of your eye. And not like tunnel vision where you can see only here, but everything's black on the outside. This is the reverse of that. So he had a black spot in the middle of his eye. So for him to have a conversation with anyone, he'd look up and he'd just make out your silhouette in the corner of his eye. So that's how he talked to you. And that was for the last 8 years of his life, maybe. And the conversations were like that. And anyway, in that last 30 seconds, I was holding his hand and I was talking to him saying, mate, it's time, mate, we love you. I don't think you ever really get over it, hey? We love you. I love you. It's time. I'll look after you. I'll look after Bridie, your wife, my stepmother. I'll look after her. I'll make sure everything's okay. It's time. And 10 seconds, I'm not saying it was 10 seconds, it might have been 4 or 5 or 20 or 30, I don't know. He started looking around the room and he started smiling and he was just alive. And then in the seconds before he died, he just looked at me. He looked at me, and he not looked at me, he looked through me and with me, and then he just passed. It was absolutely another gobsmacking experience to have those things in my life that if that was an option, I think all three would have taken it. And this is selfish, of course, because I would have lost out that experience. And I tell this, those who know me have heard these stories over and over again, because to me they are so valid and so real for our health and our well-being, and knowing potentially, as with my father who was an atheist, of the potential of there being something afterwards to make you feel better in your transition. The smile, by the way, I found out the next day, his best friend of 30, 40 years died half an hour before Dad did, and they had an ongoing agreement that whoever died first would have beer waiting for the next person. And I think, I didn't know that at the time, his smile, but I believe that there was something there and his friend was welcoming and helping him through with a beer or something like that. So even though it's probably far-fetched and it's just my mind or Dad's mind or whatever, it was there for me at that time to know, wow, there is something. My mother gave me the message of, you are what you think you are, you create your own health. Majority of the time, your diet plays an important part in it, of course, but you can have the best diet in the world, but if you think you haven't lived your life properly, or you're judging too much, and it'll manifest in your body somewhere. So stress is a big killer, and that creates a lot of that too. Andy, which I didn't say before, when he passed and I found out, I was upset and emotional walking up to my girlfriend's stairs to her bedroom, and I literally felt a kick in my ass, and I heard Andy's voice saying, David, what are you doing, mate? You know better than this. So these three things gave me this experience, and I don't believe if the VAD law was in place and they chose that I wouldn't have got that experience, and I wouldn't have been able to share that with you guys for you to see that there is more to this than what it's there. And I just afraid of the VAD maybe being abused. So all respect to Chris Burton, and may he rest in peace, and his family have peace knowing that he made the decision for himself. Please have a look at the videos on the De-Escalation Coach's channel. I'll put the link in there to those videos. Like and subscribe to that once you've seen the videos, and look at all three. It's got some interesting things to say. Anyway, I'll move on. Just really quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because it is the voice finalising today. Not the singing voice competition voice, but the other voice thing that's been running around for a while. In just to end that part, I'm not going to say yes or no to whatever you want to do, because I don't really give a crap. Don't give a rat's ass what you do. Just make a decision that's going to make Australia a less racist and less separate and diverse, separated country, not diverse, a separated nation. And for me, the only way that's going to be is not allowing separation to occur. And if we have a separate process where there's one rule for us and one rule for them, that's a separate nation, and that's not a good nation. The nation needs to be one, regardless of who was here first and who was here second. If I've said this before, and I'll just cover it really briefly. UFC for me, and they're supreme athletes and wonderful fighters, I'm sure. But for me, it's no different to a grade 3 school boy brawl or a fight where they'll say horrible words to each other, hate you more, push and shove each other a little bit, wrestle on the ground, maybe a few slaps and hits until one cries and then it's over. To me, UFC is the same. I think the argument where one group of people claim to be the first people anywhere and then kick up a stink about it is like a schoolyard person who brings a football to a game and then doesn't like the rules and goes, well, it's my ball, I'm going home with it anyway, and I got here first. It's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. We are one nation. We need to be one nation. Let's be one nation. So the vote today, for those of you who are going to do it, make us a one nation and don't create separateness. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So the last thing is about the young people making medical decisions relating to operations. And I'm not talking about the new current drive for whatever. I don't even want to say it, but there's apparently, and it's not apparently, but it might be really apparently, we know that you can't get a tattoo until you're 18, you can't drink until you're 18, you don't vote until you're 18. All these things are real around making decisions, because at 18 in Australia, we presume you have a certain understanding of consequence, and you might get to really think about where you've finished your education. Hopefully you've gone through your schooling, you've done your secondary education, and you've passed or failed, whatever. And or if you've left early from education, you've had a job for a couple of years, and you've had life experience behind you, and then you can make these decisions. So as it comes to apparently it is, I looked at it, hello, Bond, welcome. I just see you on the live chat. So the medical decision, right? So let's say, for example, someone who wants to have, and this is a real example, I won't use names, a young person has scoliosis, and went through the investigation of potential operation with that. And now back surgery is a really life-changing thing. Lots of strong exercise could have possibly corrected it. We don't know, but given time, that may have worked. Maybe 18 or 19. This person was 15, and was told by the medical people that they could make a decision at 15 to whether they want this surgery or not. And I'm going, 15. It is actually 16. You don't need your parents' consent to get an operation, like a major spinal operation to get rid of scoliosis. But it's over 14 years of age to have a major life-changing operation like that. You can make a decision to have that if you understand the consequences. 14. Like, what fucking 14-year-old understands consequences of life for things like that? Well, none. I don't believe any 14-year-old can. They might think they can. I've been 14, maybe not. Most of you have been 14 as well, but 14? God, unbelievable. No way can you make a decision like that. 15? No. Against all of the advice, exercise, work on back strength, do this, do that, make yourself stronger. That'll fix it and correct and change that. No, operation. Done it. The operation was done. Over. Years down the line, like 3 or 4, 2 years down the line, pain, back again. They can't do the back exercise now because the back is rigid. So you only work on one part of the back. It's like, wow. Why do we allow this? Why do we think that it's right for children to have any major operation from 14 and make these decisions that are life-changing? Put some stuff in there. Give me some feedback. What do you think? What do you think about that? What is it about operations that we think a child at 14 can have, but we don't let them vote? You know, they're not allowed to have sex until they're 16, even though a lot of them do. And we think we draw, there's a line, isn't there? There is a line where we go, well, you don't get it yet, but well, you get it now. Like, where is that line? I believe in America, you can't drink until you're 21. Maybe is that a line to say you've gone through secondary education, you now have a job, or you've gone through university or college, and you've had some life experience, so now you think, well, it's okay to drink. Should you make it 15? Well, why not 14? Let's let 14-year-olds drink. For God, let them drive a car too. They do in Australia. I don't know if you have the problem anywhere else in the world of youth stealing cars and driving them and ramming things. Well, why not they let them drive at 14? Because if they can have a major back operation at 14 or 15 and make that decision, surely they know they can drive. Just make smaller cars so that the little tiny legs and the little childlike arms can reach a steering wheel without having to have a booster seat and platforms on their feet. It's like absolutely ludicrous. Make a rule and make a rule for everybody. Airfares is another one for at 2, you're an adult. Why is that? Because you take up a seat. So you pay a full fare as a 2-year-old in an aeroplane because you take up a seat. So maybe it's 2. When you go to theme parks, you pay full fare at 12. A child is up to 12. At 12, all of a sudden, miraculously, you're an adult and you pay full fare. Like, no. You're a child until you're 8, until you make and understand consequences. In saying that, really, how many adult children are there? Still don't understand consequence. Still don't get it. And that's the difference between a man and a woman and an adult male and an adult female. An adult child, an adult male and an adult female do stupid ass things because they don't understand the consequence of that and how it impacts on not just them, but the person and the extended people and their families. They'll make stupid ass decisions. A man and a woman not only consider what they're doing and saying, they consider the person they're saying it to and their extended family around them. So there's a big difference. So maybe, I don't know what it is. I don't know what point, but you've got to draw a line and make the line distinct in the sand so we know that's the point where it goes. If they just keep lowering the bar, then they'll lower the bar for everything, not just operations, not just, I don't know, whatever else it is at 16, age of consent, the stuff that you can do under 18, but you can't drink or drive or vote until you are 18. Make them all the same. Adjust it. Let someone make this rule, make this thing happen. Anyway, that's it. That's my rant. It's my whinge. It's my carry on. Thanks for watching. What have we got? Yep. One, it is very true. Sad when parents pass, and you never get over it. It's one of those things. Oh, you did. Yeah. How was that experience for you? I don't regret it. I don't, and I still have that memory. You too. Thanks for putting that comment in. US drinking laws vary. Oh, it is it. Okay. 18. Yeah. What's that? When I turn 18, you could drink beer. Okay, or wine, but not liquor. Why is that? Is that because they deem liquor as a stronger alcohol and you have more or less control? That's probably why, because beer, you can drink so much of it and you bloat and you stop, but you can scull a bottle of liquor and probably get dead because you're young. Anyway, I'm done. Thank you very much for watching this now and or later. Again, like and subscribe. If you got this far, you might as well. Watch the de-escalation coach videos of Chris Burton. again, my condolences and best wishes to his family, and enjoy your journey, Chris. From where you go from here on is an absolutely wonderful place. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. I appreciate all of that from everyone who's done so. In the comments of the video, write some stuff in there, and I'll get back to that when I can. Have a wonderful weekend. Next week I'll have another topic that we can talk about, and I don't know what that will be, but I'm sure it will be something absolutely interesting, or it won't be. Anyway, remember Treos down here. Take responsibility and own your stuff. Because if you do that, you become a man, you become a woman, and you'll understand that consequence for everybody. Enjoy your, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Enjoy your journey. Have fun, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll get this. Hang on.